RUBIKON me Adriatic Kelmendin përkrahet nga Interex, Cima Construction, Ariani Kompani dhe Albi Group.
So, Ms. Albright, Minister Izvanoli, thank you for this opportunity. I will start with you, Ms. Albright. So MCC has partnered with many countries all over the world, to be exact, 49 of them. So can you please tell us why you chose Kosovo, United States, and MCC to make this huge investment? It's $250 million.
Well, thank you, and it's a great pleasure to be in Kosovo and to meet with all of our wonderful partners here, including, of course, the Minister. So MCC was created in 2004, and we partner with governments that have shown a commitment to democratic governance, to investing in their people, and to managing their economies well. And we measure all of that through a set of very complicated indicators. And Kosovo has passed all of those indicators, and so it's a great achievement. And so the board, in fact, has selected working with Kosovo twice. First, early in 2017 for a project that has now virtually come to conclusion for $49 million. And that was initially selected in 2017, and we've just, we're here actually to celebrate the close down of that program. And that was, on the one hand, a program to help invest in energy efficiency and also to provide a variety of different types of scholarships and opportunities for women. Then, most recently, the board then selected Kosovo for a compact program, which in some ways is a follow-on to the threshold. That program was scoped at $202 million. It's been, of course, complemented by a very generous additional contribution by the government. It will also be in the energy sector, and we will start working on it. We signed it in July in Washington. It was very hot. And we will start working on it. It has two components. One is a battery storage component. There's also an additional component to give opportunities to women to enter into the energy sector. And the final thing I'll say is that it is a particularly timely investment, given, and we can talk about it a bit more in the interview, but given all of the very, very urgent matters that we're seeing in the energy markets, particularly in this part of the world.
Minister Izvanoli, one of the pillars of MCC grants is program country ownership. So Ms. Albright mentioned that now it's very useful that Kosovo wanted to invest or negotiated to invest in energy sector, but we didn't know that the crisis will hit as it is now back then when the first threshold grant was given. So why do you believe Kosovo needed even then to focus in this particular sector?
Well, it's clear that the energy sector is crucial for economic growth and development and for the welfare of citizens. The invasion of Ukraine and the way Putin is weaponizing gas and energy more generally against the whole Europe has actually made it clearer than ever, has reminded us something that we knew all along, that energy security is actually a matter of energy security also beyond the economics and the social impact. Unfortunately, in Kosovo, energy had been neglected for decades. Public investment had been focused on road infrastructure, particularly on a few expensive highways. Our supply was actually threatened. Security of supply was threatened, even though that was easily concealed to the public because the gaps would be filled by imports, which were relatively cheap at 60 to 90 euros. However, we were aware of this as government from day one, and we had started working on planning a more secure and cleaner energy future for the country. In the meantime, it became clearer to the public also that our energy system is very vulnerable, and the country, due to the lack of investment in energy, is also very vulnerable. The post-pandemic crisis that hit Europe made this painfully clear, I would say, and then this was very much aggravated by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So what we have been doing since then is working on two lanes while we subsidize and help citizens to to deal with the crisis with the least impact, with the minimum impact possible, by subsidizing tariffs, by subsidizing energy efficiency. We're also working on building almost from scratch the future of the energy sector that we want, that we aspire for the future, one that is more reliant, cleaner and more efficient, but also more decentralized and democratic. And here, MCC and the US government are a key partner. Not only in this program, which is the largest for the last 40 years, largest investment in energy in the last 40 years. It's also a very, in Kosovo, of course. Other countries have moved forward in the meanwhile. It's also the most innovative project in the country, but also in the region, I would say. And it is only fitting that our key partner and ally, the US, is helping us in this program, which is also a cornerstone of our energy transition. I'm immensely grateful and highly value not only the MCC support per se, but also the fact that MCC puts central focus on country ownership. And I think that really needs to be underscored, and that is of huge importance because that means that the programs that MCC designs in conjunction with, in cooperation with countries, contribute to the long-term strategy and policy priorities, our own policy priorities. As you know, energy efficiency and renewable energy are the key pillars of our energy strategy for the next decade. Therefore, both MCC programs, which Ms. Albright already referred to, align perfectly with our policy goals. On the one hand, the Threshold program provides valuable pilots for future energy efficiency measures for the residential sector. On the other hand, the Compact program enables us to substantially increase generation and integration of renewable solar and wind power into our system. I want to also note two additional aspects of this program, which tend to go unnoticed when people are focusing only on the capital investment, and that is that the contribution of both programs actually is way beyond the energy system per se. Women's empowerment, as well as market-relevant skills, development of market-relevant skills and employment opportunities for youth are something that are very important to us. An inclusive and just society are at the very center of our government's agenda, and they are also topics that are close to my heart. Therefore, I and the whole government are very excited about the program, and we look forward to continue to take the lead on the process and implement it in the best way possible and in the shortest period possible.
Ms. Albright, MCC had made investment in many different sectors like water, transportation, agriculture in the past, but going back to 2017. So why did you believe that it is the best solution to invest in energy sector, and how do you evaluate how it went until now? So is the Compact program linked to how the Threshold program was implemented?
Yes. Well, first of all, I think that the minister has given you a very good description about why the program itself is so urgent and essential to Kosovo at the moment, and I think you're absolutely right. She also referenced what we call country ownership, and that is terminology that refers to how we work. So it is at our core that we work very, very closely with countries on, at the beginning of the process, what are their priorities? And we have a whole analytical process for actually helping identify what are what we call the key constraints to growth. So at the beginning of the Threshold, which then also carried through the Compact, we worked very closely with the government to identify that energy was the key issue. Now, if you zoom out for a second, I think it's important to ask the question why. First of all, we are in a global energy crisis. It has been, on the one hand, caused by President Putin's invasion into Ukraine, but we also see that energy globally is at a time of transition when we think about all the impacts of climate change and the impact of CO2 on the atmosphere. So it is a time, first of all, to look at the impact on the region. It's also a time for governments, as your government has done, to begin to transition away from fossil fuel-based energy and introduce new forms of energy. So the Compact, particularly the battery storage piece of it, which will be the main feature of the compact, will in fact enable the government to begin to transition to a more diverse energy future. The third reason is about international development. And when a country is able to get more reliable access to energy, cheaper access to energy, cleaner forms of energy, begin to bring in more different people into how a sector works, that's very good for the overall robustness of the economy, the health of the people, and a government's ability to generate growth and income and job opportunities year in, year out. Your final point was whether or not the compact is related to the threshold. They are in fact very closely related. So the threshold dealt with really what we call the demand side of the equation, and it helped begin to regulate aspects of demand. The compact is working on the supply side and helping the supply of energy become more reliable and perhaps a bit more efficient. So they will work very, very closely together. And then the women's opportunity piece also work one to the other.
And Minister, the threshold program, 49 million, is about to be completed. So we discussed even before what has been done in the field. So does the government have plans to extend it in a way?
Absolutely. Through the threshold program, there have been investments in energy efficiency in the residential sector in 962 houses and apartments in 7 municipalities: Prishtin, Lipian, Viti, Mitrovic, Artan, Jakov, and Gračanic. These investments included in thermal insulation of walls, floors, and roofs, and in VT particularly, also central heating, ventilation, and aircon system with heat pump powered by solar panels, which is innovative and will be very interesting to pilot. These are all very useful because energy efficiency programs, particularly the ones related to thermal insulation, are highly complex to design and to implement. Therefore, the lessons that we have learned here will enable us to roll out bigger programs in the future, which we are in fact planning. As you know, we've already started program for solutions, subsidies for efficient and alternative heating solutions for citizens a few weeks ago. That was also based on insights from the MFK team who worked directly on implementing the threshold program. As you know, this has been a huge success. In less than 6 days, we received almost 6,000 applications for a scheme of 6 million euros, and we are going to add similar measures, and also in the future to start thermal insulation of walls, windows, of floors, roofs, and changes in windows and doors, and other related, though not as complex, such as solar panels for heating, household equipment that is efficient, etc. And the threshold program has absolutely laid a good foundation for this, because we already know the challenges, the pitfalls, and how to address them, how to design programs that are attractive also for beneficiaries, and particularly also for specific vulnerable target groups, such as social assistance beneficiaries and pensioners, because one of the key goals of our energy strategy is for the future of energy, for the future of the sector and the country to be more just, and for this transition to be just and no one to be left behind.
And Ms. Albright, you mentioned before that the MCC is also focused on creating more opportunities for women. And I can say in this particular case, you as a woman is leading the organization, the agency, and also we have a woman minister here, Ms. Rizvanoli. So how do you see how it helps the emancipation of women's rights, and also how it supports the economic growth of the country?
Well, thank you for the question. We're first of all very proud of this aspect of both the Threshold program and the Compact program. And if you look globally, it is absolutely clear that women, in order for countries to move ahead, women need to be very substantial parts of the economy, of political life, of society. And that was really at the heart of part of our thinking on this program. When we looked at some of the initial data, at the beginning of the Threshold program, we began to realize that women are not participating to a large extent, if not much at all, in the energy sector. And we sought about in the Threshold program to begin to introduce opportunities there. And so at that Threshold program, there are a number of ways for women. There were some scholarships, there were some grant programs to begin to create opportunity for women to get involved. And we've just had a wonderful lunch with some of them. And when you hear sort of on the ground level what the program has done for them, it really has had a remarkable difference. There was also a terrific boot camp, a camp for teenagers that involved teenagers from here as well as from other countries, led by some major tech companies for 2 weeks that began to introduce them to things like coding and artificial intelligence. So it really, at the Threshold level, designed to get into some specific opportunities. The focus on women will now continue in the compact, and that part of the compact that will also involve women is called the Just Energy Transition. It will involve training, technical assistance, mentoring and networking in different ways for women to continue to get involved in different ways in the energy sector. And we believe that being able to introduce more women into the sector will be beneficial for the sector, but also create real opportunities for them. So it's a part that we're very eager to continue to focus on, and I know that the Minister and I, given our interests, will keep a close eye on that part of the program.
And Minister, we know that MCC often includes policy and institutional reform along with the program. So was it implemented also in Kosovo, and how it went?
Yes, there were a few interventions which incentivized publication of data, but also analysis of data from various sectors, including energy, environment, judicial system, labor market. A few examples that I found particularly useful in these times of crisis was a web app where the public can have access real time to information how much is being produced, energy is being produced in the country. Or another one, data analytics, which shows the public how energy is spent and what share of household consumption, what appliances account for what share of energy consumption by households, which is very helpful because it helps families, households save and be more aware about what they are spending on and what kind of efficiency measures that they should be focusing on. Another very important aspect is that of the judicial system. As you know, also a very much a top priority for our government, and transparency here is extremely important. So I'm happy to hear that tomorrow there will be a launched platform where the public can see the efficiency of the judicial system and judges. And this, I think, will be a part of this puzzle in improving our judicial system, which is key to both welfare of the people as well as economic development of the country.
And Ms. Albright, we mentioned in the beginning of this interview that there are two grants that Kosovo is gaining from MCC and the US government. So the first one is Threshold program, 49 million, and we also know the signature of $202,000 in July in the US. So is the compact program? So how do these two programs differ, or what can we expect in this compact program now? What projects?
So the compact is for 202 million, and it follows very much the original rationale for the threshold. The original rationale for the threshold was twofold. One was that the country faced significant challenges in the provision of energy on an efficient and consistent basis, and also that women did not have sufficient opportunity to get involved in the sector. So the compact really is based on that initial logic. And so what the compact will do is, first of all, the energy component will build 2 battery storage facilities, which will help the existing energy capability become more efficient, and also open the door for a transition to more renewable energy to complement the existing means of generating energy. It will also have an additional component that will give opportunities to women through mentoring, training, skills, to get involved in different types of activities and jobs in the energy sector. So one will very much follow the other. And if you add both of them together, in addition to the contribution from the government, in the compact, altogether it is a significant investment in the overall energy future of the country. And the United States is just so honored and proud to be able to help one of its dear friends, Kosovo, with investments of lots of different types in the energy sector and in the future for women in the country.
Minister, we know that it was very much talked about and also in headlines everywhere. Where should Kosovo invest this $2.2 million? And there was this option of gas pipeline and the battery storage. So once again, do you still believe that this was the best choice?
I am more convinced than ever. I think the crisis and the surge in gas prices that we have seen since last summer, but also which has gotten significantly worse over time, and the way that President Putin is limiting gas flows and weaponizing very blatantly gas against Europe, makes me much more comfortable being here today and discussing a battery investment rather than starting a pipeline right now. The battery system is proven, has significantly fewer risks. It can support a transition to a greener economy, which is one of the guiding principles of our energy strategy. And the compact will benefit, and particularly the battery investment will benefit the country in multiple ways. Stabilizing the frequency, which is something that we may take for granted or not appreciate enough, but when we have problems, we notice it, and when there are damages to appliances. It will reduce the need to purchase balancing services from other countries, and actually also helps us fulfill an NSOE requirement for reserves, which we currently don't fulfill. It will reduce the cost of energy imports, and more importantly, it will enable the connection of wind and solar new generation capacities, which we plan to build over the next years. So this is a very timely investment, and one which we are very happy about, one which will save the country at least 15 million euros annually, and that has been estimated based on pre-crisis prices. In today's prices, that would be multiple times that. So when you put all of this together with the significant impact that it will take in skills development and employment opportunities for a new, innovative, dynamic sector, the programs, I believe, will be the first in the region. So we will have a cutting edge in workforce skills in energy for the future energy sector in the region, I think, with this program. And last but definitely not least, the opportunities that it provides for women to engage in the energy sector, which is a highly, and will become increasingly so, a highly lucrative sector, are extremely important also in other aspects.
Ms. Albright, do you want to comment this big debate within Kosovo, so gas pipelines versus battery storage?
Well, I think the minister has outlined a very strong rationale for why this choice was the right choice. Let me just add a couple of additional things. I mentioned early in the segment how country ownership is so important to the way that we work, and so we were very happy to work with the government in their choice to favor the battery storage option. In terms of the amount of funding involved, there is no loss of MCC funding. The country is getting the same amount of funding from MCC that it would have gotten. So we're very comfortable with the choice. We're also very comfortable with that aspect of the project that will continue to work to include and incorporate women into this sector and give them the skills and the networking and the training that they need to begin to get involved in what the minister has very accurately described as what's going to be a very dynamic sector here. So We're completely in favor of it and eager to get on with the work. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, and both teams have spent a lot of time over the course of this visit discussing the details and what needs to happen, and everybody is very eager to get started.
Ms. Albright, Minister Izvanoli, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for joining me today. Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure as always.
Rubikon me Adriatic Kelmendin përkrahet nga Interex, Cima Construction, Ariani Kompani dhe Albi Group.